Ladies and gentlemen, the amount of, I'm going to say, freakery in the racing world, especially when it comes to some of this NASCAR crap, is unbelievable. And I want to say it's just fans. I really do. I have a lot of people, oh, well, that's just fans. But there's systematics, ladies and gentlemen. There's systematics to everything that you can think of. And I'm going to show you some systematics today. This is a post that was made by Bristol Motor Speedway, and it is promoting the Kyle Larson Showcase Challenge, whatever you want to call it, at the Volunteer Speedway the week of the Bristol Dirt race. Now, look what this guy has to say right here. Perfect opening act for the real dirt pros on April 9th, like Chris Bell, Austin Dillon, Bubba Wallace, and Kyle Busch. I said, is this sarcasm? He says the 30-lap go-kart races need some exposure, ... I said, you understand that the dirt cars in this event have 250 more horsepower, correct, than the Cup car, the 750 horsepower package that they're running. William Byron attempted to run this race last year and couldn't even make laps for half the night, spinning out, etc. He didn't reply. Now, what I've been trying to help some of you know or understand, this is what the people outside of dirt track racing think, and let's just say there's maybe a million dirt track fans who know and don't perceive a super late model star as a 30-lap go-kart guy and don't perceive Bubba Wallace as a dirt pro. Let's say there's a million people that think that. Well, there's 350 million people in this country and there's 7 billion in this world. So you're in the minority of thinking. And I understand that it's the people outside of this sport that control how big it becomes. And the perspective of this sport is also going to dictate where it goes and the respect and awareness and recognition that our drivers do get. Now, this perception that Bubba Wallace is a dirt pro in comparison to the stars at the Kyle Larson Late Model Challenge, you have to understand that is the truth to the world around us. For some reason, we're not worried about attacking that detrimental view of this sport that we so-called love. I came in here and said, I wonder if anyone else will race it. William Byron attempted last year and couldn't make laps, kept spinning out. And then, of course, we get the update today that Kyle Busch will be running a Drupa Please machine for Brandon Overton. Kyle, shared that he's going to be running it. And, of course, I had to put my couple cents in there and say, wonder if they'll have provisionals. Now, for the record, I think Kyle Busch is probably one of maybe 4 guys in NASCAR Cup Series racing that if he took time and dedicated his career to dirt, he could be a guy who would consistently run in the top 10, maybe the top 5. He would win a race probably 2 to 4 a year out of the 90, 100 races if he was to run. I think he's going to perform extremely well, especially compared to William Byron, just because William Byron had never been in a car before. But now, some of you may say, and I tried to make this argument with the Jonathan Davenport situation, every mistake he's going to make in that Cup car is going to be looked at and amplified. If he gets beat by Bubba Wallace and all the cars that beat him in a Cup car on this Bristol Dirt experiment is going to be viewed by the other 349 million people. View it as those people in NASCAR are better than any dirt star. So it would be only fair, though, if Kyle Busch comes in here and we wax his ass and he can't make the show or whatever, that is just as amplified. We're not going to give the 1 race excuse because Steve Kinser didn't get a 7 race excuse and Jonathan Davenport ain't going to get a 1 race excuse either, and Chris Windom didn't last year. They're not going to get that excuse over there, so why would we give that excuse to Kyle Busch internally? Well, I would love to use last year's example of William Byron of hey, our dirt stars are that badass. Y'all's guy couldn't even make laps. He was spinning out, like I just told that commenter. But ladies and gentlemen, here I have typed in William Byron, Bulls Gap, and I've went to videos. You can't find it. It's gone. There's no evidence. You have to have a Flow subscription and go back and watch it, and I hope they didn't take it out of the I hope they didn't excerpt what happened last year. But you can't find public video of William Byron's experience at Volunteer last year and how embarrassing he looked in our race cars. Go to YouTube. Same thing. You type in William Byron, Bulls Gap. Here's what you get. You don't see anything because they know how damaging that would be to their brand and their drivers. If these drivers were not perceived as the greatest drivers in America. If I was announcing, promoting, or pit reporting, I would be announcing and introducing people, not one of the greatest drivers in dirt track racing, but one of the greatest drivers in America. People will be, that's disrespectful to cup cars. Well, isn't it just as disrespectful for these guys to prance around over there and say they're the greatest drivers in America, but their drivers can't even make laps in our cars with more horsepower? More competition? What dubs them to be called the greatest race car drivers in America? Marketing? Oh, maybe that's why we can't find us a William Byron Bulls Gap highlight. My point is, they get their embarrassing moments in our race cars hidden. Our moments are blasted to society and used as, this is why we are the greatest. They're just a bunch of dirt guys. A lot of manipulation of marketing. The only way they're calling themselves the greatest race car drivers in America is if they trademarked it. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, everybody's happy Kyle Busch is in there, and everybody's happy, and it's just great that they'll even pay us attention. We think NASCAR's going to promote dirt track racing. I still don't understand this. There's so many more things more popular than NASCAR. And honestly, there's other people who would like racing if their only example of racing wasn't NASCAR. NASCAR representing motorsports is hurting us. It's one of the most boring forms of motorsports we have. Whereas this amazing, exciting form of motorsports is just in the dark and dependent on them to promote us. I really wish that some people with some power in the dirt racing industry would recognize that we're a really good UFC and that NASCAR's boring-ass boxing. UFC didn't depend on boxing people who were good to come over and show how good they were in the cage and to talk about it. UFC self-promoted and said, we have another product that is different than what they got. It's a whole nother discipline. And we got some badass fighters over here. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I think. Is some crazy stuff, in my opinion, that's going on. Leave a comment below, like the video, share the video, and as always, be sure to subscribe. We will catch you next time. This is how we ride. This is how we do.